Right, I'm here at Saltaire, that's Salt's Mill there, and we're going to do some 10-stop filter stuff here. So I'm just taking a photo with my 10-stop filter on, and as you can see, the histogram there has got a little bit of gap at the top. And what was the exposure settings? So 60 seconds at f18. So we can possibly go a bit longer, maybe put it up to 90 seconds rather than 60, and that will give us a little bit more movement in the water and a bit softer. So let's show you how that does on the 5D Mark IV. So the first thing is, in your red ones, go to bulb on top, like that. So we're on bulb mode, that's there, and then you tap on there, enable, and then you can press detail. So we've got 1 minute and we'll go to 30 seconds. There we go. Okay, so that's 1 minute 30, and because I've just taken that shot, I'm gonna change the composition a little bit, just so we don't end up with the same shot over and over again. Tighten it up. So here we go, just a little check. It's sharp still. Yep, sharp. Go. So how are we doing? So we're halfway. Seems a long time. It's 90 seconds. Let's hope it's worth it. I guess if you're not a photographer, you may wonder why on earth we want to wait 90 seconds for a photo. Well, it's fairly simple, really. It gives a real surreal photograph. All the water just turns into mist, really, and the clouds, which are moving fairly fast today, will leave a lovely pattern. Oh, it's finished. Let's have a look. So let's have a little zoom in. So if we look at the water there, see how smooth it's gone compared to reality. Now look at me. There we go. So if we look at the data on this one, it was ISO 100, f18 and 90 seconds. So you can see over this side here, the clouds which were there have all blurred nicely. So we might want to pull a bit of detail out of that because it's a quite subtle effect at the moment. So we might want to select the sky and add some detail there. And to stop everything burning out, we've got a fairly dark foreground which will brighten up. So let's crack on and do a little bit of editing. So first up, I often just do some generic edits, not selective ones. So I'm just going to lift up the shadows a little bit, bring down the highlights, brighten the whites up, just try not to burn the sky out. And what I'll do is I'll apply the presence controls, texture, clarity and dehaze separately when I select the sky. I use the tilt shift lens, so the lens corrections never work on that. We can maybe have a go at the transform. Was a little bit out there by the looks of it, but not much. And if you want to play with the color a bit, you've got the calibration down here, which I've started using a bit more recently. So I always like to put the saturation up to 100, and then on the blue channel of these, you can make things more magenta or yellow. Quite like the magenta look there. With the red, just tweak little bits, and it can make it look a little bit more interesting. Add and subtract the warmth there. Anyway, just show you the before and after on that. There you go. So the meat of this is going to be using the new select sky control. So let's select the sky for starters. There we go. It's done a decent selection for us there. You can see it does breathe over slightly onto the building, which isn't a bad thing because it stops it getting these horrible hard edges you sometimes see with harsh selections. I wouldn't worry too much about that. So how do we get some more detail out of that sky? Well, the first thing is dehaze. So if we pull that across a little bit, you can see that's really transformed that sky. Seems to have darkened it quite a bit, doesn't it? So we can do that. This control here, which tells us when we've burnt out. I might bring the highlights down a little bit, actually. Maybe a bit of a sunset vibe on it, or maybe pure blue. So the beauty of selecting the sky separately is you can add some interesting effects. You can put a little bit of purple in there so it looks almost like it's a proper sunset. When this wasn't really near sunset, it was probably an hour away. There we go. Look at that. So let's just toggle that off. There we go. That's what we actually got, but with a little play. Right. So we've got that. Now we need to pay attention to this lower half. So create a new mask. Now we want to select everything that's not the sky. So the way to do that is counterintuitively to select the sky again on a new mask. Right, so that's selected. Now we go to the sky, the 3 dots, click that and hit invert. There you go. So it's selected everything that's not the sky. First thing I want to do is maybe bring up the shadows a little bit because all these dark areas aren't great. I want to add a little bit of clarity, maybe a bit of texture just to bring out some detail and sharpness. Okay. Let's have a look at our saturation. You can black and white it if you want. We can make it very, very gaudy. Maybe just bring the highlights back a bit because they are starting to burn out where they've hit the side of the building. Okay, so that's not too bad. One thing I want to do is just select the very darkest areas and bring them up a little bit. And this is how you do it. So create a new mask, go to luminance range. And then we drag this top end all the way down to around there. So it's the red bits where the darkest bits are. Now that's going to have a horrible edge to it if we leave it there. So you can split this tool open. It takes a bit of playing with actually. There's like a gradation from where there's no effect to full effect. This should be apparent when I do this now. So if I click on the shadows now, a very colourful edit. So once you've done the 2 halves, what you can do, if you want to just come back and fine tune, I mean, you could go for a more subdued kind of look with it if you wanted to. The good thing about Lightroom is it's non-destructive, so you can always come back the following day and go, crikey, what was I thinking about, and just change things. But something like that is probably quite appealing to for a print. Now I'm not too convinced about this concrete thing here, so if I want to preserve my 3:2 aspect ratio, I'm going to press my shift key, drag that up like that, so it's not in the shot anymore, and then maybe just position this tower on that golden section line, and that happily puts this corner on the edge of the water. Look, so you get that crop there.